Did you know that God still restores today? In Psalm 85, we see a cry for restoration and revival. You see, no matter how many times Israel had failed and forsaken God, He was right there and waiting to restore them. And if you strayed, He is right there and waiting to restore you. Welcome back to Wisdom from the Word. We are still in our Psalm a Day series, and we are in Psalm chapter 85. Would you join me as I read? The Bible says, Lord, Thou hast been favorable unto Thy land. Thou hast brought back the captivity of Jacob. Thou hast forgiven the iniquity of Thy people. Thou hast covered all their sin. Selah. Thou hast taken away all Thy wrath. Thou hast turned Thyself from the fierceness of Thine anger. Turn us, O God of our salvation, and cause Thine anger toward us to cease. Wilt Thou be angry with us forever? Wilt Thou draw out Thine anger to all generations? Wilt Thou not revive us again, that Thy people may rejoice in Thee? Show us Thy mercy, O Lord, and grant us Thy salvation. I will hear what God the Lord will speak, for He will speak peace unto His people and to His saints. But let them not turn again to folly. Surely His salvation is nigh them that fear Him. That glory may dwell in our land. Mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. Yea, the Lord shall give that which is good, and our land shall yield her increase. Righteousness shall go before Him, and shall set us in the way of His steps. As we look at Psalm chapter 85, we see a theme of restoration. And I noticed a couple of things. First off, in Psalm chapter 81, that we talked about Israel not listening, not hearkening to God. And we saw that Israel would not listen. And God said, these are the things that I would do if they would have hearkened unto me. I would have filled their land. I would have given them the finest of the wheat. And we see in Psalm 83, just two psalms previously, Asaph's psalm, we see that he asks for God to forgive Israel. He seeks forgiveness. He seeks mercy and grace. And we see Psalm 85 is after Israel has been corrected. And we see a shift from God's wrath towards Israel to Israel's enemies. We see God's wrath shift from Israel to its enemies. And as we look at Psalm 85, we see in verse 2, it says, Thou hast forgiven the iniquity of Thy people. Thou hast covered all their sin. So God is forgiving Israel. We see in verse 6 that it says, Wilt Thou not revive us again, that Thy people may rejoice in Thee? So Israel is in a spirit of revival. They're saying, Lord, revive us again. We want to rejoice in You. We know the blessings that You have brought us and that You will bring to us. Revive us again. Restore us. We see in verse 9, just like Asaph in his last psalm, that they say, Surely His salvation is nigh them that fear Him, that glory may dwell in our land. And just like Asaph, it was for God's glory. Why were they seeking salvation? Why were they seeking restoration and revival? It wasn't for them to be exalted in the world, but it says in verse 9 here, that glory may dwell in our land. It was for God's glory. And then we see in verses 12 and 13, the promise from Psalm chapter 81 is now seen back in these final verses. In Psalm chapter 81, the last verse says, He should have fed them also with the finest of the wheat, and with honey out of the rock should I have satisfied thee. In verse 11 it says, But my people would not hearken to my voice, and Israel would none of me. But we see in Psalm 85, we see that turning away from their own wickedness in a seeking for restoration. They turn back to God. In verse 13, we see that, or 12, it says that, "Yea, the Lord shall give that which is good, and our land shall yield her increase. Righteousness shall go before him, and shall and shall set us in the way of his steps." And so we see that promise from Psalm chapter 81 in these verses. And so our application: restoration and revival work together. Revival is a recognition of where you are at, and it's bringing up and reviving, bringing to life, to revive, literally revive, and bring back to life what has been forsaken. And restoration is restoring it to what it has been previously. And so we see that we should have personal revival. We should ask the Lord for a renewal of our hearts, of our minds. We should seek to have the mind of Christ. If you are saved today, the Bible says that you are given a sound mind. You are given Christ's mind, because you are not to fulfill the lust of the flesh, but you are to fulfill the things of the Lord. You're to seek the things of the Lord. And so if you're saved, you are to seek personal revival. If you've neglected that Spirit that has been given unto you the day you got saved, it is time to have personal revival and bring it back, restore it to where it once was before. Psalms 51:10 talks about, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." So trust in God's faithfulness, and as the father in the prodigal son story in Luke chapter 15, that father is God. And God is waiting for you to seek restoration today. You see, God is not going to just restore you and give you blessings because you are his child. If you have forsaken those things that you know you're supposed to do, and the good things, and the things that are righteous, and the things that are holy, if you've forsaken those and you've been like the prodigal and you've walked away, let me encourage you today. It is not too late to, as the Bible says, when the prodigal came to himself. It's not too late to come to yourself, to wake up, to say, I need a revival. I need to be restored. Because God still restores. And just like Israel, the many times that they forsook God and they sought other idols and other gods, when they sought restoration, God was right there waiting for them. And he did restore them. So I hope this was an encouragement to you. I hope that if you are somewhere today and you're down and you're discouraged and you know that you need that reviving, I pray that you would ask the Lord for restoration. And then take the steps to be revived and to come back into the fold, into the house of the Lord with the people of the Lord. And so thank you for joining me in Psalm chapter 85. As I said, I hope it was an encouragement. And we are getting through our Psalms very slowly, but very surely we are getting through our Psalm series. And so check out the outline in the description below. And save these Psalms for later use as well. And then I am also putting out some shorts with the clips from this video. If you can't sit and watch the long form videos, I'm trying to put out some shorts that capture the main idea. And so thank you for joining me. I will see you guys in the next Psalm.